Okay, all right, she's up. There you are. Blanca, can you hear me?
All right.
Yay! We
I can
fight.
hear you.
Now you can hear me. Thank you. Okay. I don't know what it was, but I live streaming.
Okay, all right.
I've had about 20 text
There you
messages
are.
come in. It's almost too much
Blanca,
and I
can
can't
you
answer
hear
them
me?
all. But
Yay!
but we finally got
Now you
you.
can hear me. Thank you. Okay. I don't know what it was,
Okay.
but
I'm hearing you on my delay, so you need to turn your volume down now, okay? Because I'm hearing the delay on your computer that says it's coming through. But Blanca, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, all right, there we go. What I did, I just shut the program down and I reinstalled it, and it came back up and it's working fine. But man, technology, and you want to think that everything's supposed to be working great. It wasn't quite working great tonight, but here we are, folks. Okay, now, fortunately, I mean, thank you for the patience for all of you that have been watching this or listening to it. But what also we can do is that I can go out and I can edit out all of that early stuff in the video programs and on the others before I bring them up, so we can kind of get when you listen to the archives, the programs will be clean. Right now, it's just not. But here we are, finally at 12 minutes after the hour. Welcome, folks, to the Sedona Connections. It's nice to have you here. This is the July 5th program, and here we are in the month of July. Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody had an absolute wonderful 4th of July yesterday. We had about 27 people here at our house in Sedona yesterday, just locals, just all local folks, and it was nice, to have everybody here and have all these guests that were around. So, and with that, I've got a doozy of a program tonight because I'm going to go into a lot more detail, some stuff that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give some information that I have not given before because I had basically been requested from my confidential sources to not give that much of a detail. I'm in a position where they're saying, no, it's okay. I can't give names. I will not give any names, but I can give some specifics of real tangible people, real tangible evidence of what's going on and how it's contrasting with so much of the other stuff that is going on out there. But before I get into the program tonight, I want to say, Blanca, welcome. How are you doing, and how are things doing in Atlanta, Georgia?
Well, I was going a little crazy too over here with the computer and Skyping, and I was wondering if it was my computer and trying to get on. So here we are.
Okay, yes. Well, we finally got it. Well, I guess it had to do with how I had booted up the pro. I don't know. I just booted it up normally, but for some reason the things didn't
Right.
connect and the microphone didn't connect, and but YouTube was working fine, and I had a ton of text messages coming in. I had too many. As I told you, I ended up getting about 15 to 20. Oh, it's saying 17 that I haven't answered. So, and that was too
Well, I
many,
guess
you know.
everybody was trying to get you on board, but I'm glad you were able to get it back up because you have a full roster at the Blog Talk
I do.
Radio, and so
That's right.
hopefully they can hear you too.
Well, we have a full roster at the Blog Talk, and I think I have approaching almost 600 people on the live stream on the YouTube. But
Hmm.
those folks, thank you for your patience tonight. Yeah, technology, technology, technology. The programs are always supposed to work, and they don't always seem to work at that time. Here's what I can do, but I want to make sure that everybody can hear you. Now they should be able to hear you, Blanca, because we're now just
Okay.
coming straight through my main program here. But what I would like to do is, folks, now not everybody, but just a couple of you out there, send me a text message that you can hear Blanca on the radio program and that she's good, okay? Would you do that for me, please? I just want to make sure that before we start proceeding, because I don't want to get into, having you discuss and say some things. Blanca, you're fine. They're telling you
Yay!
that you're
Thank you.
fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Okay. And yeah, Jason, I see that you're online there as well. Okay. Well, anything else, Blanca,
well,
you want to add before I kind of make some announcements and get into the program tonight?
well, I think we had talked earlier about July is going to be quite bumpy and quite eventful, and I think computers is just the beginning of it. I've got two computers up because one of them has been crashing all the time, and so Alan says, "Well, let's get you set up on two, so if one crashes, you've got another." So I guess it's just a sign of the time. So everybody's gonna buckle up their seatbelt, stay present, because July is probably going to be very interesting for all of us.
Well, it's interesting. I don't spend a lot of time listening to really experts in astrology and the stuff like that. But there was this one that just really caught my attention. And I listened to this lady, and she gave, the reports for the month of July this year. And she talked about how all the planets are lining up and everything, all the stuff taking place. She basically came down and says, this is going to be one really rough, tough month. It says there's going to be a lot of major things. There's going to be a lot of challenging things. But the roughness and the toughness of this month that she was saying is it's because we're in transition. There's going to be some major transition things taking place this month. And that's where the conflict comes, because you got people like us that are anticipating the new coming. We want the new coming. And you've got people that are really grounded into what is. And so when the new stuff comes, it just blows up their world for them in so many words and creates a lot of conflict for them in doing that. So, and what I was noticing, though, as I was listening to her, I just saw that if the money comes forward, which I'm really anticipating that it is, that it was really, that would create a lot of conflict. That creates a lot of conflict out there, because people are saying, what in the hell is going on? Where did this come from? Because remember, those of us who understand the currencies or the bonds that are being to be funded, very, very, very small population of the world. So if all of a sudden this money is released, it just blows kind of everything up, because it blows their paradigms up. It blows their stability up. It blows up their expectations of what they think is supposed to happen and what's taking place. And it creates a lot of confusion is what it does. And that's what I've been hearing for about the month of July. But that's so much on that stuff. So anything else you want to share with us before I make some announcements and go on with the program?
No, I think not. I think you're going to touch on some very important topics. And, once you put that on the table, then we can kind of break it down a little bit more. But yes, I'm looking forward to what you have to share with us.
Okay. All right. Well, just a couple announcements, and that's also it's around the workshops. I have one today as Wednesday. I will be in Philadelphia this coming Saturday on the 8th, and I still have room for about another 20 seats in Philadelphia. So if people want to come, just go ahead and feel free to show up at the door. I know I can make that announcement, and I won't have, an over amount of that much. 1 week after that, Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville was a sponsored workshop, but I'm surprised that I haven't had more. I have a lot of room in Louisville. And just about 2 hours ago, I posted on the YouTube video that the registration will be open for Denver. Tomorrow morning, the newsletter will go out. But if you want to go to the website and you want to, get there early on the list, you can do that. I've now opened up the registration for Denver. I would encourage you with Denver to probably try to register in the next 1 or 2 weeks. That one has a potential to sell out, because I have some friends in the Colorado Springs area, and there's around 40 of them, 30 or 40 of them that are going to be coming. So that is a lot more than just what is normal. So so just to let you know that. But I am anticipating that at least, if not by Louisville, but by Denver, I'm going to be able to make a very major announcement on the currency exchange stuff. And obviously, remember what I say, folks. I can share things in the workshops that I just verbally that I can't share on the internet. See, a lot of you don't know what goes on behind the scenes with me. You don't know what I have to deal with, or who's out there and who's coming at me, and how much people are trying to distort what I have to say and why they're trying to do it. You don't know my contacts and my networks that I have, and I can be very frank with you. I can pick up the phone and I can talk with folks that inside the CIA that know what is going on in this stuff. They're a part of it. Remember, that is an agency that's very compartmentalized, and not everybody knows what everything is going on. Depends on the level of their security clearance. But there are CIA people that are directly involved in this situation that I can pick up the phone and talk to. So, let me wait before I get going into that stuff. But the workshops, if you can get there, folks, I would really encourage you to do so, because if you've got questions about this, that's the place to come. That's where we spend a lot of time in Q&A. I appreciate all the questions that the audience brings up, because it opens it up for other stuff of discussion. And also, you have the ability to pull me aside and talk with me quietly and secretly if you've got some really serious issues, but you don't want to send it in an email, or you don't want to talk about it here on the radio program. So that's why I encourage you to do that. I know I get attacked, people saying, no, you're just trying to make bucks. No, folks, if I was trying to make money off the workshops, I'd be one of the worst promoters that I ever know, because if I was really trying to fill it, I'd be promoting. Yes, it is what gives me my income, and yes, it is what pays my bill. But also, as I have said, I have never, ever, ever turned anybody away who has shown up at the door as long as we had room. I've had people come and they had no money, and I said, just come in, just come in. I had one lady that she showed up once and she was in tears because she didn't know if she could pay, the workshop fee or her parking. And I said, go pay for your parking. And she came back in and we gave her her money back and said, come on in. You need to have some money to gas to get home. So it's not about, do you have the money? Remember, I have scholarships available, but you have to go to the website. You have to read through what is there. You have to follow the instructions about how to request a scholarship rate. I have never turned anybody down except for the fact that we have been filled and there's no more room. It's the only time I've ever said no to anybody. So I encourage you to want to come and to show up, because that's where you get in-depth information, that a lot of the stuff that I don't even get to talk about here on the radio programs. But also I put out the big picture about who are we and why are we here and why is this happening now? This has never happened or something like this in the history of the human race. Why are all these funds being released? Where do they come from? Who are the sources of it? Where does all this gold come from that backs all this stuff? And how does it come about, and who's in control and in charge of that? And then I go into a third session at the end of the day, and I just about the power of our thoughts, the power of our thinking, that we are the ones that are creating this situation and this scenario. And when you put all that together, you begin to realize how we get to take this money to help shift and change and fix this world. That's a responsibility that we have. It's not about us getting rich. It's never been about that. It's always been about using 30, 40, 50,000 everyday people to spread money around to help clean up and fix this world. That's what it's always been about. So with that, those are the announcements. And Blanca, I think I'm ready to go into the program material. Have you got anything else you want to share?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just want people to take advantage of the workshop, especially since things are really starting to look very interesting.
Okay. All right. Oh, I accidentally turned you off. There you are. Now you're back on. But did you? I didn't catch the last few words you said. I just wanted to make sure.
I was just going to invite folks to come to Louisville. Like I mentioned, Al and I are thinking to see if we can be down there.
Yeah.
It's always nice to meet the folks who listen to you. And but that's it. That's all I wanted to add about the workshop.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you. Well, I'll get back to you when it's time to go to the callers. But folks, for the program tonight, what is it that I can do that I can talk about and say that's in more detail than what I've been before? Well, let me do this. I had an email come in not too long ago. And what I want to do, I just want to start out on this email. I says somebody had sent this to me and says, "Would you like to comment on this tonight?" It was posted on the Rumor Mill News, and it's from let's see, a guy by the name of David Crayford, and he says that basically she shared with me some of the comments. I haven't gone to the article, but she says the biggest ones like Keenan, Schmidt, and Fulford, they've run out of information to share. They seem to be losing traction and battling for financial support that isn't coming. Fulford's on RMN all the time begging for money. And folks, let me say this. Here's what I can say. I know where the money is. I know where the money is coming from. I know how they got that money. I know the bank that the money is setting in. I know the bankers that are working with it. And I also know the coordinators who are handling all of this. But I can't speak for Fulford and Keenan and the others, but if they're like me, we've been asked to be very quiet because things have been so close. There are 4 major groups of people that are involved in this process. You've got the brokers. The brokers are the people that are basically taking in the currencies and the bonds from people like you and me, whether we be large or small. Then you've got basically bankers that are involved that are facilitating the banking operations, because everything, if you want money in your account, if you want to get money that you can spend, it's got to go through a bank, and it's going to be put into your bank account coming from another bank. So the bankers are involved in this, but the bankers that are involved in this are very select, very limited, that know what's really going on at this time. So you got brokers, you got bankers, and then you have buyers. These are the people that are buying these currencies. Now, I put buyers and funders into the same category. Sometimes I'll say buyers, sometimes I'll say funders. But I think funders are probably is a better term to use. There are organizations and there are individuals out there that are funding this whole thing happening. And you've heard a lot of this about either the dragon families or the elders. But what's really important to know about dragon families and elders, they're not all the same. You've heard me say before that some of these people, they talk about, well, they talk with the elders and they talk with the grandfather. And I say, well, which grandfather? Because I'm familiar with 5 of them. 5 of them that think they are the grandfather that's in charge, or else they reflect that opinion that they are the grandfather or the ones that are in charge. I believe I know who they are because the ones that I communicate with, they never, ever, ever come out into the public and talk about this. They aren't passing on information to people even like me. I don't even get to talk with them, but I have secondhand. I can pick up the phone and talk to the people who do talk and work with them, but they would never come and talk to me because I'm too much here out in the open. And the grandfather that I am told about, that I have 3 different sources that basically you have to be absolutely lying to my face if what they're saying is not true, and I believe what they say. This grandfather is the one who's basically overseeing the process of most of this, overseeing the funding. They are the funding sources. And this grandfather, for most of the time, lives underground because of his safety. For him to have these accounts, they have such a meticulous operation set up, is that it's not like he can just log into it because, no, it could be hacked. And it's not that he can't even use his fingerprint, because fingerprints, even if you really have really high technology, you could pick up a fingerprint from somebody else and use that. He has a very sophisticated computer program that it reads the DNA encoding in his body. And that cannot in any way or form be duplicated. It's stronger than fingerprinting. It's stronger than eye scans. And the computers that they use and have has to read the DNA coding. It has to be an absolute match, and that is the only way that he can get access to these funds to move them. And to me, that's the real grandfather, because I haven't heard anybody else talk about their grandfather being to that extent. And they talk with their grandfathers all the time. Well, I can tell you one thing. The guy that's the real grandfather that has the control of these funds, that's why he's living underground most of the time. Because if he came above ground, if Cabal could find him, they'd kill him in a heartbeat. And that's why he has to live in that way and in that manner. That's why I believe I'm in touch with the real grandfather. There are a group of 5 different men that work with him. I know where they live. I know where they operate out of. And one of them I had talked with on the phone, I should say on Skype, and I was talking with him on Skype. And we were talking about it. He says, well, do you know where the end processing center is for all these currencies? And he says, and I told him it's in Hong Kong. And he says, well, which one? There's 2 of them. And there are 2 end processing centers in Hong Kong. All of the currencies go to there. That's where they all eventually go to. And then he said, well, there's 2 of them, but which one? And I said, well, and then he said, well, it doesn't really make any difference because we fund both of them. We are the ones that are funding the currency and the bond exchanges. And he was talking about the grandfather that they were with. So you have brokers. And when it comes to brokers, the biggest brokers are in Reno, and I'm in touch with them. I have a personal relationship with the individual that many say is the largest currency broker in the world. I can pick up the phone and call him anytime that I want to. You have the bankers, and I'm in touch with some bankers that are in a bank that are not here in the United States. They've been involved in this stuff for decades. They've been involved in the off-market trading platforms for 4 to 5 decades. They are not a commercial bank. They basically call themselves a wholesale bank, so that they are a bank to the banks, is what they are. And it's because of their networking that who they have and that they're in touch with as well. And I have already submitted a small amount of currencies from a small amount of people on round 1 through them. So you got brokers, you got bankers, and you have funders. I'm in touch with the largest currency broker in the world. I'm in touch with the banks that are working with the end processing office. And I have talked to the people that say that they are the ones that are funding this. And then you have the coordinators or the facilitators. The coordinators or the facilitators, I should say, there's another term that I was going to use, and I'm going blank on it right off, but they are the end authorities, and the end authorities are the governments. We can talk all we want about elders and grandfathers and all the money that we have. Some of the other funders I told you are those 5 extremely large trusts that 3 of them I have met face to face with. The other 2 I have talked with on the phone. These trusts, the smallest one has 60 zeros in their account. The largest one has over 120 zeros in their account. And yes, these accounts are very real, and they have that. But if you notice something, and they will tell you this if you ever had the opportunity to talk with them, they can't even write a check. Why? Because the money to be moved has to go through the banking system. How do you send $1 billion to somebody? You either write a check or do a money wire. You can't transfer it physically because you're not going to walk around with $1 billion of cash, physical cash, and you're not going to be moving gold back and forth and stuff like that as well. So what it comes down to at the end of the day, it's the governments who have the final say. There's the golden rule, and it's called the other golden rule. And that other golden rule is those who have the gold set the rules. That's true. They may set the rules, but really, at the end of the day, it's those who have the biggest guns are the ones who control everything. Because a gun will always overrule gold. And who has the biggest guns is the government, predominantly the United States government. Those large trusts or those elders, if they were released to freely spend the money they have in their accounts, any one of them could literally take over the world. And that's why the governments won't do it, because it then becomes what in their eyes is a national security interest issue. That's why whether it's IMF, whether it's the World Bank, or whether it's the U.S. Treasury, they aren't allowing any of these people to move their money without their authority, because they understand that if that much money was free to be moved, people could organize and take over the world. That is why, at the end of the day, the coordinators, that was the term I was looking for, the fourth group, the coordinators are the governments. And here in the United States, it's basically U.S. Treasury and Homeland Security that is coordinating and overseeing. I am 2 phone calls away from some of the very, very top people in Homeland Security. I don't talk to them. They don't want to talk with me because it's in the security interest for them to not talk with me directly. I have people who have been retired from the CIA that have been around in this business for over 30 years. They know all of the major funders in the world. And he still has lots of contacts in the CIA. I can pick up the phone and talk to him anytime. I'm 2 phone calls away from FBI. Some of you had said, well, the FBI is investigating you. Yeah, they did. They checked me out, and I'm doing just fine because I have not committed any crimes. And I'm here to help facilitate the funds coming through. I'm familiar with an extremely large currency transaction that took place. Let me take a step back. The coordinators, there is an office here in the United States that is the coordinating office. And I can pick up the phone and talk with people who talk with them almost every day. They will not talk with me directly again for security and safety interest issues. I have been told there is a reason why they allow me to come on and talk on this radio program and talk about this stuff that others cannot talk about. And they will not allow it. Because, see, I've said this many times in past radio programs, and I've said it also in the newsletters. The real people with the real money, the real funders, never, ever, ever come on and talk on the air, or they will never allow themselves to be discussed, or I should say they will never make comments themselves on the internet. The people that are talking about all these gurus, to me, they're talking with lower level people that are there. Now, let's come back to the funders. When I talk about the funders, there are white hat funders. There are. But you need to understand there are also black hat funders. There are funders that work directly with and for the cabal. And they're involved in this to create confusion. They're involved in this to create misleading. And they're involved in this because they're addicted to power and control. Most of the elders that the information is coming out of Reno, or in my opinion and in my estimation, are the black hat elders. Myself and others, going back over a year, we would get reports coming from these elders out of Reno, and the reports ended up being false over and over and over and over again. It was 2 days ago I was in discussion with one of the guys I talk with on a frequent basis, and he says, well, I just got a report from one of our guys again. And I says, I don't even want to hear from him. I don't care where he is, who he talks to, what it is his sources are. His batting average is 0. And for more than a year, we've been listening to him, and he has never been right once. Not once. I don't need to listen to the 0 batting average guys anymore. I have no interest in that. These people that are over and over and over again saying that stuff is going to happen and it never happens. Folks, there is a point in time when are you going to continue listening to people and trusting people whose batting average has been 0 for a couple of years? And they're talking about this every week. There comes a point in time where enough is enough. I have worked hard on this to come up with what I call real tangible people. And I look at all 4 of those categories. I have very, very tangible brokers. I can pick up the phone and talk to the largest currency broker in the world. I have real tangible bankers that are from across the ocean that are involved in this. I have real tangible buyers, funders that I have talked with either on the phone, met with face-to-face, or on YouTube. And they have the source and they know where the money comes from. And with the sources, I should say the coordinators who in the government that are coordinating all of this taking place, I'm 2 phone calls away from them. Those are my sources. These are the people that I talk with. And I've come to the point is this, if I'm not able to coordinate and work and talk with people that are very tangible, I'm really not interested. I'm really not. It was this morning I was talking with one of my sources, and we thought we were going to get an update and that things were going to be ready to be released either yesterday or the day before. And we came back and said, well, you know what it is when you're working with the government people, because you never really know how long it's going to take them, because there's always some excuse or some reason for things to go on a little bit longer. But I have had 5 different sources that I have been talking to, and they don't even talk to each other. Well, excuse me, I will say there are 2 of them that do. But of the 5, only 2 of them talk to each other. But they all have very good contacts with funders and coordinators. And all of them are saying, Dave, we've never been this close before. We can't tell you why it goes from day to day, and we don't know. But we do know that it's very close. These are sources, as I said, that I have in Reno. These are sources that I have in Hong Kong. These are sources that I have with other buyers and funders. These are sources that I have inside the CIA, inside the FBI, inside Homeland Security, and these are sources that I have at the White House. And in all of those, when we talk, there's a consistency that's coming through. And the consistency that is coming through is that because the coordinators are the final say in all of this, they are the ones that are going to give the word go. And these coordinators are predominantly, there is an international treaty agreement that has been signed and worked on very quietly with the participating countries. And obviously the 2 major countries are the United States and China. China is a source where some of the money is coming from. And I can say this because you've heard about this before, that there's these off-market trading platforms that trade stuff on the market. I've talked with some of my banker friends that are involved in this. They've explained how it works, what the details are, and how it is that they can basically take their money and they can legally they can double it every 4 to 6 months. And that's a long period. Sometimes they can double it in 2 to 4 weeks. And it's all done on a legal basis. But this is a world that's above Wall Street. Wall Street does not participate in this. Wall Street is not allowed to participate in this. And if you will notice, you never hear Wall Street talk about it. It's the world above Wall Street. There are a very limited number of people or organizations that are allowed to participate in these off-market trading platforms. I have direct contact with this bank that is across the ocean that's been involved in these trading platforms for more than 50 years. At the end of the day, the people that work with the coordinating office, what they have told me is all of the money for the currencies and the bonds, it's already sitting here in banks here in the United States. They're just waiting for the word to go to release it. And that money was real money, not mythical money, not illusionary money, not, elders' money that they can't write a check for or trust that they can't write a check for. This was very real money. It came from basically 25 years on the trading platforms, preparing for this time. Those are the sources that I have. These are the people that I talk to. These are the things that I get to understand. Now, what has changed? What has changed in the last 3 to 4 weeks, and I talk about this with my colleagues, I talk about this with my other sources. We're not 100% in agreement, but most of us are in agreement with this. We haven't been told this directly because they basically won't release this type of information to us, but yet we put things together and it makes common sense. The common sense is that the dinar is done, folks. It's done. There is a processing office that they used to take in loose dinar, and about 4 weeks ago they quit doing that. They're not taking in any more loose dinar. None. Dinar exists out there as loose stuff you'd have, and then there is the dinar that is in the boxes. These boxes are sealed. They have barcodes, pin codes, and scan codes on them, and they come directly from the Central Bank of Iraq. And each box has 1 billion dinar inside. It has 40,000 of those 25,000 dinar notes. I am familiar personally with 7 different people. And these are not people that, know that I've just heard about. These are people that I have seen what is called their client information sheets. Because I was aware of a potential brokerage situation that was going on with them. And these 7 all collectively have hundreds, I need to rephrase that. They have thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of boxes. And there is a couple that collectively have hundreds of millions of boxes of dinar with 1 billion each. You're talking 200 to 300 million times 1 billion. That's how much dinar is out there. But here's what we found out. A report that I had is that the coordinating offices, because they are limiting how much money is going to be released, they are now only going to pay out to 3 of the major brokers who have turned in dinar. Because there's just way too much that is out there. They are the ones that authorize. And myself and my colleagues, we all believe that if you are not in a private exchange that is on a list that has been approved by the coordinators, you're not going to get paid. I have been saying for more than 3 years, follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. Who's your buyer? Who's your broker? Who's your funder? Where's the money coming from? And even if they have the money, is U.S. Treasury authorizing them to release it? Because you see, it's a national security interest issue. It's common sense that the U.S. government is not going to allow quadrillions of dollars to come into this country to be freely spent without their authorization. That is a national security interest issue. That could be the end of the United States government. And some of you might say, yeah, but do you know who's going to replace it? Do you know what's going to come out of that? Come on, folks, use common sense in this stuff. Don't go, ballistic on me when I say that. The government that we know now, that we have now, yes, it's not perfect, but it operates in a good, functionable manner. It makes this a wonderful place for us to live here. And that could end up being gone because they would have the money to buy whatever military stuff that they wanted to take. It would be a bloody military coup if too much money was released. You've also heard me talk about the whole concept of Nasara, that 535 members of Congress aren't going to walk off the job. I'm sorry, I don't see Nancy Pelosi voluntarily leaving her position, or even Speaker Ryan for that matter as well. I mean, and they're not going to just get up and walk off their job voluntarily. Okay, I don't see that happen except through a bloody military coup and takeover. So that's why the people that talk about Nasara, the people that talk about the 800 numbers, the people that talk about the fact that there are 6,000, 12,000, and even the latest report, they said that there are 25,000 of these processing centers out there ready to go, and they're all staffed. Well, where are these 60,000 to 200,000 employees? Even if there was only 12,000, that means there's going to be at least 400 or 500 here in the state of Arizona. And if there's 400 or 500 in the state of Arizona, there's got to be at least 2 or 3 here in Sedona. Right? They aren't here, folks. You see, this is the type of crazy stuff that people are believing. None of it is tangible, and hardly any of it comes from what I would call real tangible sources. And you've heard me say tonight, my contacts are very real and very tangible. They're aware of what is going on. I've talked about in past programs, why is all this stuff happening? There's 2 predominant reasons why. We're in the midst of a major, major world change. Number one, we are in a position that all of the G7 countries, which are the biggest economic countries in the world, they're all bankrupt and in debt beyond their ability to recover. That means with that happening, we're going down a road. There's only one of 2 options available. Number one, if they go bankrupt, which means they have no money to spend, and we have no money for government services. It dries up, totally dries up. Or number 2, they keep printing more fiat currency, which creates hyperinflation. And we're already starting to see the very early end of that. I should say the first results of that, because we have been running into inflationary issues recently. You're starting to hear more and more professional economic and finance people coming onto the mainstream media finance programs like CNBC, the Fox Business News, Bloomberg Business News, MSNBC, and they're coming on and they're saying, we're there. If things don't change, we're about ready to fall off the cliff into the worst economic calamity that we've ever had in the history of this world. So that means that has to be fixed. The second thing is we are on the verge of what is called a global revolution. You can go on the internet, and every week there are massive, massive demonstrations going on in multiple countries all around the world. Demonstrations where there's 30,000, 50,000, even up to 200,000 people that are protesting. And what are they demonstrating against? It's the have-nots demonstrating against the haves. That always leads to a revolution. In past history, it's always been just 1 or 2 countries at a time, and it hasn't impacted other countries. America is a result of that. You go back and you look at the history of the American Revolution, it was because an oppressive government was oppressing upon the people. And the people says, we don't want to put up with that. So they led to a revolution which led to their own freedom. But revolutions are usually pretty bloody. What's happening now, because we have the internet, is the fact that we are right on the verge that these 20 to 30 countries can all start communicating with each other, and they could coordinate a global revolution all at the same time. And if that happened, you can believe that's when the haves, the extremely wealthy, would be in trouble. And they're wanting to prevent that because at the end of the day, those are pretty bloody. They get pretty violent. They get very aggressive. And, it's the people revolting against the governments, and the police come out, and the military comes out. And the people with the money, fund their people to try to squash and quell everything. There are white hat people that understand those two scenarios, and they understand that if they don't step in and release these funds, it's not a very pretty picture for us here on this planet. And it's time to take the next major step in what is called the evolvement and the development of the human race. And it's time for us to being able to be free from these different forms of financial slavery that we've been living under for literally hundreds, if not thousands of years. But shifts and changes don't always happen smoothly and peacefully. Sometimes there's conflict in the shifts and changes. And we're right on the verge of that now. I could literally get a phone call tomorrow and says the letter has come to release the funds. And yet it could still take another 2-3 weeks and another 2 months. We just don't know. There are issues because, see, when something like this happens, it is going to create a calamity, if that's the appropriate term to use. It is going to create some chaos. It is going to create a lot of confusion. And they have to be ready to handle that. They have to be ready to handle the anarchy, the protesting, the chaos, the confusion that's going to go on. And it's in our best interest to make sure. It's not about just releasing money to us, because most of the people don't stop to think through what is the outcome of that. When there's 40, 50,000 people that are going to participate in these currency exchanges, how do you think the other 7 billion people on the planet feel when they hear about it, that they weren't involved in it? Now, what I want to do is I want to start contrasting that position that I've taken. My opinion, I've been very, very clear. My sources, whether it's brokers, bankers, funders, or even the coordinators, none of us can find anybody who is buying Zim anymore. Zim was a limited currency for a limited period of time. The only exception has been if you already have a contract with a broker and that broker's funder is allowing him to add to his existing account. That has been the only exception about Zim that has been basically going through the process in the last 6 to 8 months. Now, some of you have said, well, I've been turning it in. Well, fine. But who's your broker? Who's your buyer? Who's your funder? There's some of them out there that they're taking it from some people, but they won't tell you who their broker or their buyer is. You better know that. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to pay for it. That money's got to come from somewhere. It's not illusionary money. It's not just, the elders and the grandfathers are going to... I'm sorry, but the elders and the grandfathers don't have bigger guns than the coordinators. The coordinators are not going to allow the elders and the grandfathers to just openly, spend all this money or just send it out. There's a limited amount of money that is going to be released for the bonds and the currencies. And there's a lot of people out there on the blog sites that don't believe that, or they are talking as though that is not going to happen. None of my sources can find anybody who's buying Zim. The majority of my sources are saying dinar is drying up. And there's another reason for that. Remember, I've talked about the extremely large parcels, the boxes. I have had 3 different reports. One out of London, one out of a large city on the East Coast, and another one out of a large city in the central part of the United States. These are basically, brokers who are turning the boxes over to funders. These boxes have been sealed, certified by the Central Bank of Iraq, and they're opening the boxes and they're finding it's nothing but newspaper on the inside when it was supposed to be 1 billion dinar. One of them, it had dinar on the outside, and then when they took the top level off, it was all newspapers underneath it. The others was just nothing but newspapers. What does that mean? That means that you have had the Central Bank of Iraq putting out these boxes of dinar with 1 billion dinar each and committing fraud, flat out lying about what is inside, taking the money as people had paid for it. But they're finding out a lot of these boxes. are fraudulent. And they are also will let you know that there is a printing press here in the United States that's printing up counterfeit dinar. And that's why we believe they've quit taking dinar in. If your dinar hasn't already been turned in to a broker and run through a Delarue machine, you're probably out of luck with it. Can I say that absolutely certain? No, I can't. But I think I'm really close to 80 to 90% probability that that's the situation that's going to be there. And that's why I've expressed in some of the recent programs that if it was me, if I had dinar, I'd sell it. I'd get rid of it. Let somebody else buy it. That's your choice. That's your conscience, whatever you want to do with that. And yes, there may be an opportunity that some of it might be turned in. I'll get to that in just a minute. But I'd take it, I'd sell it, and if this money is committed to wanting to use this as an investment, I'd go buy dong with it. If you just simply do the math between the dinar and the dong, it's common sense. Get rid of your dinar and buy dong. Why? 1,000,000 dinar will cost you 13 times more US dollars to purchase than 1,000,000 dong. And I can tell you right now, I don't know anywhere, or I have not heard of anywhere, that the dinar is paying 13 times more than the dong. In most places, it's paying about 3 to 4 times more, is what it is. So even if it's only paying 3 times more, you're getting 3 times the return on your dollar for buying dong than you are dinar. There are a couple of blog sites out there. Not blog sites. There are a couple of dinar commercial sites that are out there. You could also Google, or you could go onto eBay of where you would want to sell your dinar. You could take your dinar and you could sell it. You'll take a 25 to 30% loss at what you paid for it. You could take that money, the 70% money, and go around and buy dong, and you're still going to get twice or 3 times as much money than with the dinar even before you sold it. Just do the math, folks. Do the math. It's common sense. I do know that the major coordinating offices that are coordinating and allowing loose currencies to be taken in, they were taking in dong. So that's the only one of my sources, that's the only currency of those major 3 that I know that that the coordinating offices are allowing to go through. Everything else is rumor. Everything else, we can't find legitimate brokers or funders who are funding them. There are people that are saying that it is. And yes, there's a lot of shenanigans that's going on in the stuff that's out there that's going on. And I've tried to be very honest with you, very straightworthy, and get to the very tangible sources of what's going on here, so that you're not living in what I call this hopium world, that you keep hoping that the 800 number is going to come and you're going to get to walk into a bank and walk out a multimillionaire or a billionaire, or even a trillionaire, according to some of them. I'll come back and I'll say, follow the money. Who's paying for it? Of all the sources that I have, brokers, all the way up to the largest currency brokers in the world, the bankers that are involved in this, the buyers and funders, and the coordinators, not one of them have said they are aware of who is funding the 800 number scenario. Not a one. That's the risk that you want to take. It's your choice, whatever it is you want to believe. Now, there's a major reason why I'm coming out and I'm saying this here on this program tonight. I would love to be wrong. I would love people to be able to receive an 800 number and walk into a bank and turn in their currencies, and they're walking out with a lot of money. That's spendable. I would love to see that. But everything inside of me, based on all of my contacts and the discussions that I've had in the 3 years plus that I've been working on this, says that ain't going to happen. And what that means, there's going to be 10 to 20,000 people out there that are going to be very upset because they've been told that it was going to happen and it was going to happen, and they're just waiting for it to come forward. And for 3 years, I've been challenging them, saying, Where's the money coming from? Who's your buyer? I have yet to see any of them talk about the funding sources. This is where the money is going to come from, other than if they do talk about it, it's in very mystical terms or illusionary terms. There's the, quote, grandfathers that nobody knows who they are, or the elders that nobody knows who they are. And they haven't been real tangible sources. The reason I'm doing this program tonight is because of the fact that if I am correct, and when the money starts being released, and if you have not been involved in a private exchange that has been authorized by U.S. Treasury, and in those terms that you're not going to get paid, that if you're going to get mad and angry, you will be able to come back to this program, and myself and all of us, we will say, we gave you an option. We gave you a choice. There's a degree of risk that's involved in this. But you chose to keep believing these people that are saying these mythical 800 numbers are coming out. You chose to keep believing that there were these 6, 12, 25,000 processing centers that have been staffed, and the people are just sitting there and they're just waiting, for us to come in, and they're waiting for us to be able to move into the position, where you can receive your 800 numbers and you can exchange it. And these people have also been talking about, the rates that are out there, and you've been believing this stuff that is so crazy and so ludicrous that in a tangible world, I don't see how it's ever going to happen. I received an email yesterday, and I want to read this to you. And this is actually coming from Dinar Chronicles. It says, "Dear readers, I know many of you may be thinking what happened to the site. What happened to the Intel? We're currently experiencing an Intel blackout. There are no delays to be reported. Everything is moving forward. I'm just simply now waiting for the 800 numbers, which could be released at any moment. It's been a long journey. We're now at the end. Thank you for choosing us." And here's what the article that they're espousing and going on what it talks about. The rates. Zim, $64. That means a single 100 trillion Zim note that you paid $50 to $60 for is going to give you $64 trillion. Folks, in a real tangible world, where does that kind of money come from? Now all of a sudden, you've got 10,000 people who are multi-trillionaires. Any one of them could take over the world with that kind of money. Can you see the ludicrous of that type of situation? Do you really think that the powers that be, that have the biggest guns, are going to allow that to happen? Let's talk about the dong. $128 per dong. Dinar, $224 per dinar. I mean, this is crazy. But folks, there's more than 10,000 people out there that are reading this stuff and believing it. That's your choice, what you want to do, if you want to believe that. But I'm here to let you know so that I can be on record, and there will be a record that is out there available for the public with saying, that ain't going to happen. Because the powers that be, I don't care if you can talk about the old powers that be, the new powers that be, or the current powers that be, the people with the guns, i.e. the governments, are not going to allow that kind of money to be released. It would be suicide for them to do it. And at the end of the day, they are the coordinators of all of this happening. So what does that say? That says that, and I want to be really clear, I'm not here to castigate the people who are reporting this stuff. They really, truly, sincerely believe it. But why would they believe that kind of stuff? Well, I did talk about some of that on the program 2 weeks ago. Why would they believe stuff that in a real tangible world is just so crazy that it's, the odds of it happening is less than 1%? Why would they believe that? I talked about something a couple weeks ago, and I've been holding back, and I've known this for some time, and I've been holding back on it because I didn't want to really start offending a lot of people. But there's a point in time where you have to be willing to say, okay, who's willing to listen? Here's a reasonable explanation of why some of this stuff is happening. What you choose to believe is your choice, and if you don't want to believe it, that's fine. I'm going to let you go and believe what you want to believe. But here's what we do know. And you notice this is rarely ever talked about in psychology circles because the powers that be, the black hats, know about this stuff and they don't want this information out because they don't want us figuring it out. The wanting and the need and the hoping for having information and data is just as addictive as drugs. This constant data stimulates the pleasure center of the brain the same way that drugs do. And you can come to the point where you're just wanting this information, wanting this data, wanting this information, wanting this data. And you're living in what I call the hopium world, the hope, 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 hope. And it is hopium, and it's like a drug when you're there. I was talking with some friends of mine last week, and we realized, 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, we were there. I can remember getting up in the morning, and the first thing I want to do is, what did TNT Tony have to say? And that was the first thing I'd do is read at night. What did TNT Tony have to say before I go to bed at night? I was doing that for a couple months, and I started realizing, wait a minute, this is crazy. And I caught myself. And I started to realize, and when he started talking about the rates, that's when he was saying the dollar was going to be $3 to $3.50. And I thought, well, that was reasonable at that time. Then he said it was 5, and then it was 10, and then it was 20, and it went all the way up to 36 or somewhere around there. I thought, wait, where's this money coming from? And that's when I realized I had allowed myself to get caught into this hopium trap. That's an addiction. And I think that's where the vast majority of the people who are talking about these 800 numbers and listening to it, they are there. Because when you're caught into a data addiction, it shuts down certain parts of your mind to be able to reasonably rationalize and think through the reality of that happening. That's what happens to people that get addicted on drugs. They've lost their ability to really reasonably get in touch with what's going on around them and to see the danger or their stupidity of what they're involved in. And so they continue to take the drug because it stimulates the pleasure center of the brain. And sooner or later, but we know what happens to drug addicts. Well, information addicts, it's not much different. Now, they aren't necessarily, there's always exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, they're not as problematic, as those who are taking drugs. But in that area that there is an addiction to, they've lost all sense of practicality and reality. Because they're still believing that they can spend $50 and they're going to be able to walk out with trillions. And they're still believing that, somebody's going to just magically come in and give us this new, revolution, this, new republic that's going to fix everything. And that they're just still believing that all the cabal are just going to walk away and just let all this new stuff come in. And they're still believing that 535 members of Congress are just going to get up and walk off the job. And they're still believing that there's, 50,000, 100 to 150,000 people out there in these 12 to 25,000 processing centers that are just waiting for them to come in, to give them, or to take their 800 number and take their information and send them to a bank or a processing center, and they're going to walk out with their $1 trillion or even $1 million or $1 billion. You see the ludicrousness of that. Now, I want to be very careful about what I say on this. Why would this be happening? Why would there be black hat elders that are continually feeding this information to a lot of these people that are placing this information on the blog sites? First of all, they understand the addiction to information. And they also know if people are gullible enough to believe that and to not think through and ask enough questions and to do their homework to find out how realistic is this, and that they've been believing this for 3 and 4 years, if they're that gullible, then they're very easy to be controlled. And you heard me talk about something that is now starting to come out even more on the internet sites. It's not made it into the mainstream news, but it's out there in a lot of different sources. David Wilcock was talking about it in a video I watched of him from just a place where he was speaking to a group of people last month. There's others that have talked about this. It's the new MK Ultra mind control system of using the technology that is available today, that they can use technology to come through cell phone towers, and they can basically influence your thinking. They can target you to do that. And the people who are caught up into the data addiction are the easiest ones to control. They are the easiest ones to target, because you see, they're so caught into that they are unaware of what's going on around them, around us. I've talked with this with my other sources, and we're pretty much all in agreement. You've got the cabal, black hat elders that are based out of Reno that are giving this information and feeding it to the people on these Dinar Guru sites. Because some of the information that they are reporting is good intel and it's very accurate. But these people are being set up to be the controlled people because they're so gullible to believe that stuff. Now, having said that the 800 numbers are not going to happen, I want to be very clear. They're not going to happen in the first round at the much higher rates. There is a chance that they may still get those 800 numbers, but they're going to go in, but they're going to get very, very small rates. They're going to get maybe 2 to 4 cents for their dinar is what they're going to get. But they're going to say, well, what am I going to do? I said, well, it's your only choice. This is all you got because all the other money was used somewhere else and you didn't get in there. And they'll do it. But guess what? They're sucked in and they're trapped and they're already there. Or else they'll go in and they'll work out what is called, basically a compromised agreement of a long period of time where you will have a buyout or a payout that will be for 30 to 40 years at the large sum of money that they will probably never be able to come through and pay because where are they going to get the money? But now they've got you sucked in for decades. I'm very cautious about saying that. I know that's not good information. I've known this stuff for months and some of it for a couple of years. And if you notice, I haven't said this stuff before. And why am I saying it now? Because I'm absolutely convinced it's time. Based on all the intel and the data and the people that I talk to, we are that close. Could it still go on for another couple months? Yes, it could. Do I know it when? No, I don't. But I do want to be on record that I was out there and I made a distinction between what comes from myself and my sources in contrast to what's being put out there on the blog sites. I just don't pay hardly. I browse them. Yeah, I do browse them. But I'm just not there because it is so ludicrous for that stuff. And when all of this is said and done, at the end of the day, it's follow the money, follow the money, follow the money. Where are they going to get the literally hundreds of quadrillions of dollars to pay for Zim at $64, Dong at $128, Dinar at $224? Who's going to pay $224 per dinar when there's literally quadrillions of dinar out there? I just told you, folks, I have seen the CIF statements. I've seen the pictures of these boxes. These people have cleared compliance in potentially exchanging these boxes of dinar. And if dinar's paying at $224 a dinar and there's quadrillions of dinar out there, where is that kind of money coming from? So can you see the stupidity and how ludicrous this is? But yet they believe it. And the only explanation that I could come to understand, and I'd been working on this for about a year to year and a half of trying to understand, why would these people be believing this sincerely? They really truly do. It's back to the data addiction. It's the only thing I could understand. Well, let me see. I think I've pretty much covered everything that I wanted to say tonight. And I said a lot of stuff tonight. And folks, yes, I do. I know I'm going to get a lot of critical attack for this. It just comes with the territory. I understand that. But I want to say thank you. Thank you to the thousands and thousands of people who have been very supportive, very faithful through this whole process. All I can say is that there is an opportunity for us to do very well through this whole process. Those are the people that I'm working with, the people that are involved in the private exchanges, the people that had the ability to trust this process, the people that were willing, whether it was the first round or the second round, to turn in their currencies. Trust the fact that the money that you're receiving there is only at the start. We're going to have the ability, I do not know the details, and I can't give you those details at this time, but we're going to have the ability to be involved in the trading platforms, where your money would double every 4 to 6 months. Imagine if you had $5-10 million and it would double every 4 to 6 months. What would you do? It's about giving the money away. It's about fixing our world, but it's also about dealing with it in a very real and tangible manner and not living in this illusionary world of, I'm going to become a multi-trillionaire overnight. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say tonight, folks. I want to thank you for listening to all this, and I want to thank you for all the support. And yes, folks, and trust me, I'm not trying to say this to get my numbers pumped up, but if you really, truly want to know more depth and details, and you've got really serious questions, then you need to come to a workshop. Some of you spent $10,000 on these currencies, and you're still holding $10,000 worth of dinar. It cost you either $99 or $129 to come to the workshop and your travel expenses. Is it worth it to make that to try to get something at the very written core to find out what's really going on here? I would think so. Okay, I think that is it. And as I'm done with that part of the program, I'm ready to start going into some callers. And but let's see here. I think I want to bring Jason on. I do see him here. And Blanca, let's bring you on. Tell me your thoughts. That was a lot tonight.
Well, you put it out there.
I did.
For sure.
I did.
You did it. You took it on. Well, I think you stressed it in your newsletter, and you stressed it today, that you are giving your opinion, informed opinion, your perspective, your deep perspective based on your sources, and you share that of what you see the situation is. And it's not about being contentious or argumentative. It's being about informative so that people have information that they can then digest, consider, meditate on, and act accordingly. So I hope people got that very clear, because a lot of people immediately go on attack or get offended or get defensive. I appreciate you trying to deal with this information in as respectful a manner as you could. I could see you were working on that, and I didn't hear any aggression or any hostility or negativity at all. And so thank you, Dave, for modeling that for us, because I have a feeling you're going to get some of that, and people can observe that. All right? Your source of information and the quality of energy that comes with that information is part of the message. And I know many of the people who listen to you understand what I'm saying when I share that. One thing is the words that are used. Another thing is the energy that comes behind the words. And I know you all are sensitive, smart enough to detect that. And hopefully you're able to see that Dave was trying to be as neutral as he could, and yet still be informative and frank and candid about what he sees happening. So thank you, Dave, for modeling that for us and trying to stay in that particular level. So thank you for that.
Well, as I said, I'd love to be wrong, but if I'm right, it means there's 10 to 20,000 people out there that aren't going to get anything. And I'm wanting to put this information out there to give them an option to make a choice. What is it that you want to do? How much did you put into this? How much are you counting on this? And I think anybody who's been listening, to my programs consistently over a year or two, or you've come to the workshops, they already understand that. And for all of you that are very faithful, I want to say thank you, because I know for a lot of you, some of this was very repetitive information. But there's a reason why I do say this, and I do repeat, because I still know that there are thousands of people out there that are listening. They don't quite get it. And it takes them hearing it 3, 4, 5 times before it finally, boom, the light comes on and they realize, oh my gosh, what did I do? I was about ready to say, oh, something else. But, they realized, what did I get myself into here? And I'm here to say there is a way out. I mean, because when you're looking at investments, there's always what are called speculative investment. And this is very speculative. But there's also a way to take a more secure position on this. And I'd say get rid of your dinar and go buy dong. Because if all of this falls apart and none of the coordinators or the funders are going to do anything beyond this initial time, you can still take your dong back to the bank and get your money back. You won't be able to do that with the dinar. We've always talked about this RV, but I'm still trying to say, wait a minute, I haven't found tangible evidence on that stuff. Early on, I talked about that a lot, and because I believed what was coming off the blog sites and what people were saying, and I'm now beginning to realize that the vast majority of all those sources don't have tangible information data sources that are really deeply involved in this to the level of the coordinators, because they are the end people, they are the end deciders. They are the end decision makers of when this is going to happen and how much money they're going to allow to be released that doesn't throw us into basically an economic chaos with too much money that creates hyperinflation. Because you put too much money out there, that's what it creates. Those of us who have the money would be fine, but you got another 7 billion that aren't. And so that's what's extremely important to understand that. So, but thank you, Blanca. Anything else you'd like to share on that?
Well, sure. Yes, I think that's key that you said, hey, it would be great if things happen the way, thousands of people are believing it's going to happen. That would be cool. But it'd be very uncool and quite a shock if it doesn't. So you're just offering people information to kind of consider the actions they're taking, and even people who are involved in the private exchanges right now. It's not done until it's done. It's not until there's money in their bank account and they're ready to go and fund their projects, etc. So even those people have to just keep an open mind, stay focused, and keep their energies in line with the particular flow of money that they're hoping to see come through. So we all have to kind of be realistic about what we're being involved in. I mean, a lot of people will even think that what we're doing is, unbelievable.
Yeah,
you see, so
I know.
we're basing our decision on the information that we've been exposed to, and so we feel, okay, based on all the information that we're exposed to, this is the direction we want to take. But we know that the responsibility for that decision is ours.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones who considered what was available, what we were going to listen to, what seemed to make sense. And so, but we're responsible for that decision.
Let me mention one other thing that I realized I forgot to say. Remember, I'm the one who uses, pretty much those terms round one, round two. Round one is those who have already turned in their currencies. And they've gotten, SKRs, safekeeping receipts, from whoever, the brokers that they turned it into. That's round one. When round one is finished and everything has been paid out, I've used the term round two for those of you that are on my list. And in round two, I have funders and buyers. I have 5 different funders and buyers that want to fund all the people on my round two list. But what's really important to understand is that I can't guarantee that because I do not have the commitment yet from the coordinators, the end of the line people. Because the government folks are probably going to want to see what happens when they put this kind of money out. And they're going to want to let the dust settle a little bit to see what it's going to do to the global economy before they start releasing another large sum of money. So I need to be very, very clear on that for everybody that's on my list for round two. I will do everything I can within me to make sure that you get funded. I do believe that the coordinators do want to fund that because it's in their best interest to see all of us on my list funded in the round two, but I can't promise it. Because they are the decision makers and not the funders. But I do have funders. I have I have these very, very large trusts that have all said that they are willing to do that. But they have to be allowed to release the money, you see. And it's the decision makers, the coordinators at the end of the line are the ones who will decide that. So, okay. Well, Blanca, anything else before we go on to some callers?
Well, yes, I do. You touched on it. It's a sensitive topic, but it's already out there if anyone wants to research it, and that's the issue of mind control.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's a very solid thing. And people can go ahead and do their research on it. They can research MK Ultra, other mind control technology that is available. And really, if you really pay attention, what's really going on right now is a battle for our minds.
Yeah.
Because we're very, very strong, energetic beings, very strong creators. So people want to get a hold of our minds and what we're going to control, what we're going to create or destroy, frankly.
Yes,
and
that's true.
So people, take control of your own thoughts, direct your thinking. There's a lot. Dave talked about some work that can be done so that you know who you are and you know who you aren't. And so I'm not going to go any further on that, but I really suggest that people learn about that so that they are in control of their minds and their actions to the greatest extent possible, because there definitely is an approach to controlling people's behavior. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
At the end of the day, what allows the mind control to happen is what is called separation or duality consciousness. It's what allows us to be in a position where we could be susceptible to that. And the two best sources that I'm familiar with, and I have ingrained myself very, very deeply into both of these, that talk about this separation or ego consciousness and how you overcome it, are the books by Gary Renard. You've heard me talk about him a lot. It's predominantly his first book, Disappearance of the Universe. And then the others is the Wingmakers material, and predominantly the Dr. Neruda interviews, where he, in his 5th interview, he talks about separation consciousness and that it is the root problem of the whole human race, of everything that happens on our planet, how we got ourselves into this position, and then how you overcome it. Those are the two best sources of how to free ourselves or be free from any of this mind control technology. I do share this in the workshops, is when you're in this place of what I call heart consciousness, it activates what we now understand, and you're hearing about this a little bit, that there's a second brain inside the heart. It's a very, very small brain, but it's a very, very, very powerful brain. And for the most part, that brain has remained dormant. But when it is activated through actively living out these heart consciousness virtues, types of a lifestyle, it activates that very small brain. And that small brain then puts out this very powerful electromagnetic energy shield around you. And it's so powerful that the mind control stuff can't penetrate and come through it. Now, when I talked about a couple of weeks ago, when I said I couldn't talk about what that was, I had to make sure that there are certain things that I can say and I talk about, and that is not a threat to what I would call the cabal, the power, the black hats. It's not a threat to them. This type of stuff is a threat to them. What I just told you is a threat to them, because to me, they are moving into a new paradigm of power and control, and the new paradigm is going to be mind control. And they don't want you knowing this. They don't want you to know how to protect yourself from their influence. But this is what it is, and it's described very well in the Neruda interviews, the Dr. Neruda interviews on the wingmakers.com website, and it's also, you really pick it up in all 3 of Gary Renard's books, predominantly his first one, Disappearance of the Universe. And the foundation of that is A Course in Miracles, because A Course in Miracles talks about the power of our mind, the power of our thoughts, of who we are, and how we put that into a very, what I call a holy pattern, a holy method of how to carry that out. So, all right. Anything else?
This is a very, very deep subject.
Yeah.
And I do hope people take the time to take a look at this. Of course, you talk about it in depth in your workshops, and so they'll have a time. What would be awesome is if they looked into these sources. Wingmakers, you can go on the website Look at the interviews. The 5th interview is a really good one. And get questions prepared for when you see Dave in the workshop. And folks, this heart virtues, practicing it is a very high technology. The way the wing makers present it, this was done, many years ago. They presented it in a fashion that it would not get shut down or censored. So they put it more like a mythological or a story form. But the heart virtue, energizing the heart, all this is a very, very high technology. It's a soft technology, but a high technology. And so, folks, I would really encourage you to look at it, because when you get your funds, there's going to be some very big opportunities, responsibilities, things in your life that if you have your heart virtues and your heart technology in place, you are going to be a dynamo and someone to really make some impact in the world. Now, this is something you and I are both really stepping into it here.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah. So
that's what we see.
well, at the end of the day, those sources talk about the root issue of our root problems as a human race on this planet that creates all of our problems, all of our aggression, all of our fear, all of our pain. It's this separation consciousness. That's what creates it. And these are the ones that tell you how to overcome it. And they also say that you can't just talk about it. You can't just study it. You have to live it, because it's the activating of this energy out of that second brain in your heart, that when you do that, you start living that, that's what produces this powerful energetic response. And it's what sets us free from separation consciousness. And both of them, they will say, until you do this, you're just stuck recycling lifetime after lifetime after lifetime until you understand this. This is what is going to set you free. And until then, we're kind of like slaves in this prison called Earth of the Matrix. And it truly is a Matrix world that is out there. And that's another whole story. I get into that more in depth in the workshop about the Matrix world and the science that is now coming out and showing us the world we live in is just a giant hologram of deception. But we're caught in it, and we're prisoners inside of it. And it's breaking out of this separation consciousness is what gives us the ultimate prison break of breaking free from that. And the money is all a part of that. The money is a part of setting us free, so we're not so caught into the busyness of the slavery of just making a living and getting by, that we have the freedom and the time to go do our research and to change our lives and change our lifestyles so we can set ourselves free from this holographic prison, deceptive world that we live in. That's another whole topic. But everything I say there is backed up by science. It's not just, not just a bit, woo-woo talking. It's all scientific backed up. And it's been kept from us. It's been hidden from us because the powers that be, they understand that they don't want us to know this stuff. So, but again, I go into much, much more details on that in the workshop. So, okay, again, one more time, back to you, Blanca. So.
Well, like you say, it's a deep subject. We could go on and on.
Yeah.
But it looks like we've got some people in the queue for questions. So maybe I should get to that.
We should probably do that because we're down to 25 minutes left and before the program's going to be done. So I'll go on to Jason and then you go ahead and take on the others, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, okay. All right, Jason, buddy, you're on the air. How you doing?
Hey, buddy boy, good to hear your voice tonight.
Yeah, quite the program tonight, wasn't it? So, but it was time to say that.
And I have a couple thoughts about what you said. I'd love to share,
Sure.
And then I also have a couple other things. I won't try not to take too long. This whole mind control topic, which is obviously very controversial for most people. I would just say to your listeners that they should do a little research on frequency, because frequency is what's used with those devices. And there are other scientists, some of the very smartest people on this planet who have already created devices that you can wear on your personal body, whether it be in your pocket or whatever else. and it will block those frequencies from making it to you. What it actually does is it increases your biological energy. So we all have, if you could take Kirlian photography and take pictures of our bodies, you can actually see a person's aura, the energy around them, since, we are and everything is energy.
Yeah.
So when you can see that aura, it's that biological energy that is actually boosted on such a very high level from wearing some of these devices. And it just simply blocks those frequencies from making it to you. When I started wearing mine, my goodness, not only did a lot of things change, but I actually became, and am still becoming on a daily basis, one of the most sensitive people I know. I went from being this kind of rough, tough, and now, sometimes I'll just cry at the drop of a hat. It's really kind of crazy, but it is, I can definitely feel this working, and it also has a very healing effect on the body as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So I would just encourage people to check on that some of the people that have created those are some of the people that have taken every frequency known to mankind, and they have broken that down and broke the code of frequency. And in doing so, they already found, even years ago, encoded messages on frequency. Like, for example, take 60 hertz, that's most of the power lines coming into most people's homes. 60 hertz has encoded messages in it. And think about it. Every room in your house has that wire with electricity running through it.
Yep.
And so once I started learning about this, I said, my goodness, there's so much smoke here. There's not smoke anymore. It's a full-blown fire.
Yeah.
And my parents taught me, son, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I dug a little deeper and dug a little deeper, and thank God for the internet. You can find anything you want to find. Just have to cipher through the disinformation. But there are ways to, in addition, while you work on your heart consciousness, to just simply protect yourself.
Yep.
And my wife and I both do that. We've recommended to some of our friends, and we get together. We're all kind of, looking at each other going, boy, are we from another planet or what? But not really.
That's another topic at another time,
topic.
But yeah. But yeah, let's,
great topic.
I want to try to get through everybody tonight, so let's kind of just, kind of summarize what else you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, the only other thing I wanted to say was I just wanted to thank you also for opening up the crypto world, not just to me, but to a lot of your folks. I'm in communication with some of your folks, and a lot of people are having a lot of fun with that. I think it's going to be huge when the money comes in for us to be able to have that outlet. And at any point that you are interested, I'm doing some things to help people totally for free, no businesses involved. And if people need some help with some of that stuff, feel free to pass out my information. If people are asking for that at all, Dave, I do have a special email that's not my personal one. I don't want my personal email given out with my last name on it, but I'd be happy to help anybody through this other email.
Well, if they want to, then
they can, it is a tough market to be involved in.
They can send an email to me, and then I'll forward it on to you. That's why we do that.
That'd be fine, buddy.
Okay.
That'd be fine. That's all I wanted to do, is just express that help to anybody that's looking, okay?
Okay, thanks. All right.
Great show, buddy.
Thanks. Okay. All right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to go on to the first caller here that Blanca has gone through and done some screening on. His name is Ray from area code 701. Ray, you're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Hey, David. I don't know if you remember me. We used to keep in touch from North Dakota, but you're a busy man to get a hold of. Anyway, I want to play the devil's advocate. If you remember anything about me, I always keep an open mind. Number one, I've been in this 7 years. So let me ask you just a couple of questions. Number one, what makes your dinars real and maybe mine or the other folks' dinars not real? Because you mentioned that they're probably not real.
It's not that they're real or not real. It's who's going to buy it. Who's coming up with the money to buy it when there's already quadrillions of out there that have already been turned in? Who's going to buy it? There has to be a buyer. Somebody has to buy it from you. It's not whether your dinar is real or not. Now, I can't tell you. There is a lot of counterfeit dinar out there, and you won't know if yours is counterfeit or not until it goes through a Delarue machine. But what I'm saying is the buyers have quit buying. They're not buying anymore. They're not going to buy any more dinar.
Okay, now, so right away, I signed up with your group, where we put our email and how much we had. Are you saying that through you we'd be safe?
Not with dinar. I wouldn't. I can't tell you that. I can't find a buyer for dinar anymore, and I don't know anybody else who can. If they are buying it, they're probably buying it thinking they can flip it. At the end of the line are the coordinators and the funders. The coordinators and the funders, based on my sources, are not buying any more dinar. They're done.
Okay, and I appreciate it, David. So let me ask you this. Did you get rid of your dinars?
Yeah, about 2 years ago. And I never bought any since.
You got rid of all your dinars.
2 years ago. I turned mine over 2 years ago, and I haven't bought any since. Because I go back and I did the math. Why would I buy dinar when I can get 4 to 5 times the return with dong? Why would I do that?
Okay.
That's common sense.
Okay.
I mean, why are you wasting your money on dinar when you can get 4 to 5 times the amount for the same dollar spent on dong?
Right, that's right, math factors
do the math.
There. So what happens when this goes on to Forex and it comes on, it's out there, it's like on the British pound of that, if I want to go to Great Britain and see my relatives, I could go buy British pounds. When this comes and it's on the Forex, I can go and buy Iraq dollars to go to Iraq, right?
You can go to Iraq and you can spend it in Iraq, but who says it's going to come on to the Forex? This currency. I don't think these 25K notes are going to come onto the Forex. I think what's going to happen is Iraq is going to print up a new currency that the 25,000 will become a 25. You see, when we go back to the pre-Saddam era, when the dinar was at about $3.40 a dinar, the highest note they had was a 25. That was the highest that they had, was a 25. So the highest currency they had, the highest note, was only worth around $90. And so you're not going to take a 25,000 and get 25,000 at 340 on the Forex. Who's going to come up with the money to pay for that? Who's going to come up with the quadrillions of dollars to pay for that increase?
I thought it was backed by the oil, by, each barrel.
Excuse me. Time out, Ray. Put your thinking cap on, Ray. Put your thinking cap on. There's only $10 trillion of oil in the ground in Iraq. That $10 trillion of oil in the ground is not going to pay quadrillions of dollars for dinar. Do the math.
Okay.
Come on, this is common sense. I've been saying this for months. If you're still believing in the oil stuff, you're stuck in the mind control, Ray, and I'm serious. That's common sense.
What?
Ray, put your thinking cap on. Use the common sense. You need to get out of your addiction to the information that's just plain stupid. And I'm being very direct with you.
I appreciate it.
Ray, I'm being very direct with you.
Hit me with the 4x4 because that's the way I operate.
Last
question. If you're an officer of a humanitarian project, does that help at all?
Not that I know of. Who's regulating that?
Okay.
Who's regulating that? I don't know.
Okay. Why, David, I always appreciate you. You get a person thinking. There's no doubt.
I know, Ray. I'm going to be very direct. You are listening to way too much crap on those blog sites. That's just plain deliberate deception to entrap you. You're paying way too much time on that, and I'm being very direct. I'm getting very direct and honest tonight. Okay.
Thanks for your honesty.
I'm getting very direct and honest tonight because I don't want you. I know you, and I don't want you getting stuck into this trap that's out there. Because you could tell me where are the quadrillions of dollars to pay for this? There isn't quadrillions of dollars in oil out there, Ray. It isn't out there.
Yeah, it definitely gets you thinking.
I know.
Like, David, I sent an email through your site here, but if you get a minute sometime, give me a quick call. If you know me, I'm always short to the point. I don't tie up your time much.
I know.
Hey, I'm gonna let you get on to the next person, and we'll talk later.
And thank you for allowing me to be direct with you tonight. I appreciate that. Okay. Because I knew I could do that with you, but it would also drive it home for other people as well. So you've been a great illustration purpose tonight. Okay. All right. Thanks, Ray.
All right.
Okay.
Buddy.
Okay. Okay, bye-bye. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to the next caller. His name is Jake, and he's from area code 702. Jake, you're on the air. What can I help you with tonight?
Yeah, hi, Dave. Few quick questions, just in relation to what you just recently said. You indicated that you've gotten rid of your dong a couple of years, or your dinar a couple of years ago.
What else has it turned him in?
Can't hear.
Okay, what I said, Jake, is I turned them over to a broker about 2 years ago, and we're all waiting to get paid, just as everybody else is in round one. I don't physically have the currencies.
Excellent.
I turned them over.
I thought that was maybe what you meant, but I wasn't certain. So the second question is when you're in a contract with a broker like you are or like we are, and that contract has in it both dinar and dong, will those be separated in any way, or will the contract be paid out as a whole to the best of your knowledge?
It depends on your contract. Every contract is different. What does it state in the contract? It's the wording in the contract.
I understand, and I know you always give that answer about every contract is different, but I'm talking about the contracts that I know you're in. And
I can't answer that on the air.
All in together.
I can't answer that on the air, Ray. Ray, I cannot answer that on the air.
Okay.
Yeah. I cannot allude to or refer to any of the contracts. I mean, the ones I know that you're talking about, I cannot discuss them on the air, and I won't.
Okay, final question. You said something about the dinar being done. Now, does that mean that the dinar will not be accepted anymore by any brokers, or that or that it's ready to be paid out, or what does done mean in the equation that you were talking about?
Myself and my colleagues are not aware of any buyers who are buying dinar. They are done buying dinar. And we feel if you're holding physical dinar, you're just holding a bunch of good paper that's going to be worth nothing but toilet paper.
So you're feeling that in other words, it'd be better if somebody had dong that was already placed rather than dinar that was already placed or whatever. But for people who don't have it placed anywhere, is it better to have the dong, and even if they can't get it with a broker?
Yes, they're far better with the dong because you can get your money back for the dong and you can't for the dinar. See, at the end of the day, the coordinators are going to determine how much they're going to allow buyers to buy. The coordinators are going to determine how much the buyers get to buy. And what we're finding out is that they've got all the dinar that they want. They don't want any more dinar, and so they're not buying any more dinar. And currently, the current position of the dinar is it's not tradable on the foreign exchange market, so you can't take it into a bank and get your money back. But if something happens, if the coordinators say, we're not putting any more money out, we've already put out too much, and you're holding dong, you can at least take it back to the bank and get your money back. But you can't with the dinar.
But as long as it has already been placed a year or two ago with the private exchange with what we know to be a good broker, then does it matter whether it was dong that was turned in or dinar that was turned in?
See, those are the brokers that have that the coordinators have already figured that amount into, so they're going to pay out for that. That's already in the numbers that they know that's going to be released, because those brokers have all been authorized by U.S. Treasury to do what they've done. And that's why what myself and my sources are saying, if the only people who are going to get paid are those brokers that were authorized by Treasury, because the Treasury keeps a tally of how much is out there that they're going to release. And that's in their tally already, if it was turned in already.
I got it. So it will all be paid at the same time rather than splitting the time period between payment of the dong and payment of the dinar.
I don't know that. I don't know that. It depends on your contract. I don't know that. You can't assume that.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, thanks for the info, Dave.
Okay. All righty. Thanks. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Well, let's see here. You know, Blanca, we had a whole lot of people that pressed their button 1, but they didn't necessarily want to come on the air and talk. So we've got 8 minutes left. If someone wants to come on really quickly with a question, you know, call in now and press 1 on your touch-tone phone, because there's still room on there. Oh, let's see. I think we've got
a few. Oh boy, a lot popped up.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take I'll take the first one at area code 206. Okay.
All righty.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Area code 206. You're here with Dave. What can I help you with?
Oh, hi, Dave. This is Sonali from Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
To hear your voice.
Yes. Okay.
I think you probably answered most of my questions with the previous caller, but I was just asking, I know you're facilitating only private exchanges, and that's what the majority of this is about, but I was curious if you ever get any news, or if you're willing to share any more of your opinion about what you think is going to happen publicly. You just said that you think we're going to see Iraq actually redenominate.
If there is going to be a public exchange, in my opinion, that's the way it's going to be. Because who's going to come up with the quadrillions of dollars to pay for it? You see, somebody's got to come up with the money. And that's why if it's a public exchange, it's going to be redenominated. And you'll probably maybe get 2 to 3 times the amount of what you paid for it, not thousands of times more than what you paid for it.
Got it.
Because
and Dave, your previous caller Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
In a public exchange, it means the country is buying their currency back. So they got to come up with the money. Where's Iraq going to come up with trillions of dollars to buy the currency back at a higher rate? They don't have that money. They don't have it. And why would they do it? There's no financial benefit for them to do it. None. No financial benefit at all. It's a loss to them to do that. They have no reason.
Well, I mean, they may revalue it like 5 cents or 10 cents.
Yes,
something like
yeah,
that.
they might. But remember, they're going to do it because there's a financial benefit to them. Why would they just give all this money away out of the goodness of their heart and take this huge loss to their country? I don't know anybody's going to do that. That's common financial sense. See?
So you think they're likely to continue using the dollar for a while?
Yeah, and they might if they get to go back onto the foreign exchange, they'll redenominate to what it was prior when Saddam was in power, and that means their top currency will be a 25. And that 25 will be somewhat equivalent to our $100 bill, so it's on par with it.
Right.
And that's what they'll do. And what rate they come in at, who knows? But there has to be a reason for them to do it. There has to be a reason for them to do it. They could choose to say, all these 25K notes, goodbye, we're done. We're not going to give you anything for them. They could choose to do that if they wanted to. That's, it's a speculative investment. You speculated on it. Because it has no value, no tangible value outside the country of Iraq. And they could say, we don't need it anymore. All you people out there in the rest of the world that bought it, that was your choice. There's no benefit for us to buy it from you.
Yeah. Hey, one other completely different question that probably other viewers have in their minds as well. A previous caller of yours was speaking about some frequency blocking device that he utilizes. I was curious if you are a fan of any particular such device like that, because I know you've had a specific experience with some frequency.
I'm still learning on it. The stuff that Jason refers to is good, but it's been blocked on the market and you can't find them hardly at all anymore. There are some others that are doing it that I'm very cautious about. I don't think I would want to be involved with them in any way at this time because I don't trust that they couldn't use it for an ulterior motive as well. You got to be really careful when you start using this stuff, because you got to really know the source of it, because it could also be used to backfire on you. You think you're using it to block.
To amplify a frequency versus neutralize it.
Yes, it could.
Yeah.
It could be something, instead of blocking it, it could amplify it and make it worse on you if you don't know what you're getting into. So that's why I don't talk about it, because I'm not going to be responsible for something unless I absolutely know what it is. And so, okay.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm going to let you go because I got about 3 minutes left.
A lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to go to Terry. Terry, I can give you 1 minute. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Dave. You hear a lot of talk about this new financial system, new currency. What are we looking at here? Can we expect something like crypto, or what do you know? What do you see? What can you tell us?
There's a lot more data coming out that the cryptocurrencies are basically going to replace the central banking systems, and it's going to be the currencies of the future. There's a lot of data coming out. A lot of people are now starting to say that. Yeah.
Your signal's breaking up. I couldn't understand what you were saying.
There's a lot of different people now putting reports out that you can find on YouTube that the cryptocurrencies are going to be the currencies of the future.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to let you go. Okay. Because I got a couple other people and I only got 2 minutes left.
Okay. Then.
Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. Okay. I'm going to this individual on area code 850. You're on the air. What can I help you with?
Yes. Hi, Dave. Really and truly, I really don't want to sound like a complete idiot here, but because with this whole currency thing, I kind of feel like one. I'm not, I'm in a couple of groups with a Zim, and I don't really know how you feel about Zim. I know that I spoke to you at one point, and you were going to do like a second group maybe, and I was interested if you were still going to do that, and how you felt about the Zim, and if you think that any of this is going to RV. All I have is Dong and Zim.
I already covered all your statements, all your questions earlier on this program in depth. I do not know anybody who is buying Zim.
I just now got on.
I do not know. We cannot find anybody who is buying Zim. It's done. If you've already turned it in, then yes, you have a very good shot. You'll be paid for it. I am doing everything I can to have a second round for the other currencies, the dinar and the dong. I think the dinar is done, and the dong will probably be the only one that they're going to buy. And I do have buyers, but I do not have the word yet from the coordinator, so I don't know. But I'm doing everything I can. So I would encourage you to go back and listen to the replay on this program. Okay?
Was that the dong is the one that you're going to maybe do a second group with?
I'll do whatever I can. I just can't find any buyers. That's what I'm saying. Nobody's buying it anymore. The buyers quit. The buyers quit buying.
So, go ahead.
The buyers quit buying. I need to let you go. I got less than a minute left before I'm cut off. Okay, go back and listen to the program. Go back and listen to the program. All right. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Okay. All right, folks. I'm down to about 30 seconds left. I want to thank you for joining me on the program tonight. Yes, this was quite a different program. I came out and I basically kind of lay it all out there as much as I could tonight. I was pretty firm on a lot of stuff that I had to say, but I want you to be able to make your choices for you of what is best for you. And you need good information and good data to do that. I've told you about my sources, the quality of my sources, how tangible that they are, and what they're saying. In my estimation, dinar is done, and Zim is done, and dong is the only thing that you're going to be able to work with, and it's the safest one to use. Okay? Tell me I got 10 seconds left, folks, so thank you very much, and we will see you next week. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.